I've always been the good one, the responsible one, the one who never asked for anything. And for years, I thought that was okay. I thought that if I just kept my head down and did what was expected, eventually, I'd get my due. I was wrong. Dead wrong. This isn't about a single incident, it's about a lifetime of being second best, culminating in a betrayal so profound it shattered everything I thought I knew about family. My name is Clara, and I have a younger sister, Olivia. We grew up in a seemingly perfect suburban home, the kind with manicured lawns and holiday decorations that went up the day after Thanksgiving. Our parents, Eleanor and Richard, were the epitome of successful. Eleanor was a high-powered lawyer, always impeccably dressed, her words as sharp as her stilettos. Richard was a renowned architect, his designs gracing the covers of magazines. They were the golden couple, and Olivia was their golden child. Olivia was everything I wasn't: outgoing, effortlessly charming, and naturally talented. She excelled at everything: academics, sports, music. She was the sun, and everyone, especially our parents, orbited around her. I, on the other hand, was the moon, reflecting her light, never shining on my own. It wasn't that Eleanor and Richard were overtly cruel to me. They weren't monsters. They provided for me, clothed me, fed me. But their affection, their praise, their attention, that was all reserved for Olivia. I was the quiet one, the studious one, the one who didn't need constant validation. Or so they thought. The disparity was subtle at first. Olivia would get a brand new laptop. For her birthday, I'd get a gift certificate to a bookstore. Olivia would be taken on extravagant shopping sprees. I'd be told to be reasonable with my allowance. Olivia's achievements were celebrated with lavish parties, mine were acknowledged with a perfunctory "good job, Clara." I learned early on that my role was to be the support system, the silent cheerleader, the one who made Olivia's life easier. I helped her with her homework, covered for her when she snuck out, and even took the blame for some of her minor transgressions. I told myself it was because I loved her, and I did. But deep down, a seed of resentment was growing. This dynamic continued throughout our childhood and adolescence. Olivia went to a prestigious private university, fully funded by our parents. I went to a state school, relying on scholarships and part-time jobs to make ends meet. Olivia got a brand new convertible when she graduated. I got a pat on the back and a "you'll figure it out, Clara." I met my husband, Daniel, in college. He was everything my parents weren't: warm, attentive, and genuinely interested in me. He saw past my quiet exterior and appreciated my intelligence, my dry wit, and my quiet strength. He was the first person who made me feel like I was enough, just as I was. We married a few years later, a small, intimate ceremony that was everything I'd ever wanted. Eleanor and Richard attended, of course, but their attention was, as always, focused on Olivia, who was dating a wealthy entrepreneur at the time. They spent most of the reception bragging about her. Catch and barely acknowledged Daniel or me. We had two beautiful daughters, Sophia, now 8, and Emma, 6. Becoming a mother changed everything for me. I poured all the love and attention I'd craved as a child into my girls. I vowed that they would never feel like they were second best, that they would always know they were cherished and valued. I thought, foolishly, that having children of my own would change my relationship with my parents. I hoped that they would finally see me as an adult, as a mother, as someone worthy of their love and respect. I was wrong. The pattern continued, even with grandchildren in the picture. Sophia and Emma were adorable, intelligent, and kind. But they weren't Olivia's children. And therefore, they weren't quite as special. Eleanor and Richard would visit, but their visits were always brief and perfunctory. They'd bring Olivia's children, a boy named Noah and a girl named Lily, lavish gifts. The latest gaming consoles, designer clothes, expensive toys. Sophia and Emma would receive, well, significantly less. A generic building block set. A coloring book, maybe a small stuffed animal. It wasn't about the monetary value of the gifts, it was about the message it sent. It was about the blatant favoritism, the clear indication that Sophia and Emma were less important, less loved. I tried to talk to Eleanor about it once, a few years ago. We were at a family dinner. And Olivia was, as usual, holding court, regaling everyone with stories of Noah's soccer triumphs and Lily's ballet recitals. Sophia and Emma were sitting quietly, playing with their food. "Mom," I said softly, "don't you think it's a little unfair, the way you treat the girls?" Eleanor raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. "Unfair? Clara, don't be ridiculous. We love all our grandchildren equally. But you don't show it equally," I insisted. Olivia's kids get showered with gifts and attention. And Sophia and Emma, they get an afterthought. Eleanor sighed, a long-suffering expression on her face. "Olivia's children have different needs," she said dismissively. "They're involved in so many activities, they need more support." "Support?" I repeated, my voice rising slightly. "They need tablets and designer clothes? Sophia and Emma need love and attention, just like any other child." Richard intervened, his voice calm but firm. "Clara, we're not going to discuss this here. Let's just enjoy the evening." I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake them until they understood how much they were hurting my children, how much they had always hurt me. But I didn't. I swallowed my anger, forced a smile, and went back to pretending everything was fine. This was my life, a constant balancing act between maintaining the peace and protecting my children from the subtle but constant sting of rejection. I shielded them as much as I could, making up for my parents' lack of affection with extra love and attention of my own. But I couldn't erase the hurt completely. I could see it in their eyes, the flicker of sadness when they watched their cousins receive yet another extravagant gift, the quiet disappointment when their grandparents barely acknowledged their accomplishments. The breaking point came last spring, during Sophia's 8th birthday party. We decided to have a small party at a local park, with a few of Sophia's close friends and, of course, our family. I'd spent weeks planning it, making sure everything was perfect. I'd baked Sophia's favorite cake, decorated the picnic area with her favorite colors, and even hired a face painter. Eleanor and Richard arrived late, as usual, with Olivia, her husband, and their 2 children in tow. Olivia was dressed in a stunning designer dress. Her children impeccably groomed. They looked like they'd stepped out of a magazine. They presented Sophia with a small, wrapped box. Sophia, ever the polite child, thanked them graciously and opened it. Inside was a generic craft kit, the kind you could find at any discount store. Noah and Lily, on the other hand, received, well, a lot more. Eleanor pulled out a brand new tablet computer for Noah, the latest model, with all the bells and whistles. Richard presented Lily with a beautiful, handcrafted dollhouse, complete with miniature furniture and accessories. Sophia looked at her craft kit, then at her cousin's extravagant gifts, and her face fell. She didn't say anything, but I could see the hurt in her eyes. It was the same hurt I'd felt countless times throughout my own childhood. Emma, bless her heart, tried to make her sister feel better. "It's okay, Sophia," she said, patting her arm. "We can share my coloring book." That was it. That was the moment I snapped. I stood up, my hands shaking. "Excuse me," I said, my voice trembling with barely suppressed rage. "I need to have a word with my parents." I led Eleanor and Richard away from the party, to a secluded spot under a large oak tree. "What is wrong with you?" I hissed, my voice low and furious. "Do you even see what you're doing?" Eleanor looked at me, her expression a mixture of annoyance and confusion. "Clara, what are you talking about?" "You're humiliating my children," I said, my voice cracking. "You're showing them, in front of everyone, that they're not as important as Olivia's kids." Do you have any idea how that makes them feel? Richard sighed, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. Clara, you're overreacting. We love all our grandchildren. No, you don't. I shouted, tears streaming down my face. You love Olivia's children. You tolerate mine. You've always tolerated me. I've spent my entire life trying to earn your love, trying to be good enough, and I'm done. I'm done pretending. I'm done making excuses for you. And I'm done letting you hurt my children. Eleanor's face hardened. How dare you speak to us like that, she said. Her voice cold and sharp. We've given you everything. You've given me nothing, I retorted. You've given me a lifetime of feeling second best. You've given me a lifetime of silence. And I'm not going to let you do that to my daughters. I turned and walked back to the party, leaving my parents standing there. Stunned and speechless. I gathered Sophia and Emma in my arms and hugged them tight. I love you, I whispered. You are both amazing, and you are both equally important. Don't ever forget that. We left the party early. I didn't care about the cake, the decorations, or the face painter. All I cared about was protecting my children from the toxic influence of my parents. The next day, I sent Eleanor and Richard a text message. It was short and to the point. I'm done. I'm done with the favoritism, the disrespect, and the emotional neglect. Until you can treat Sophia and Emma with the same love and respect you show Olivia's children, you are not welcome in our lives. This isn't a negotiation. It's an ultimatum. I didn't expect a reply, and I didn't get one. At least, not immediately. A few days later, my phone rang. It was Olivia. Clara, what the hell is going on? She demanded, her voice shrill and accusatory. Mom and Dad are devastated. They said you went crazy at Sophia's party. And told them they couldn't see the girls anymore. That's right, I said calmly. But, why? Olivia sputtered. They're your parents. You can't just cut them out of your life. I can, and I have, I replied. They've hurt me and my children for too long. I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. Olivia launched into a tirade, accusing me of being selfish, ungrateful, and oversensitive. She told me I was ruining the family, that I was being dramatic, that I needed to get over it. I listened patiently, letting her vent. When she finally ran out of steam, I said, Olivia, I love you, but I'm not going to discuss this with you. This is between me and our parents. And my decision is final. I hung up the phone, feeling a strange mixture of relief and sadness. I knew I'd done the right thing, but it still hurt. It hurt to sever ties with my family. To acknowledge that my parents were incapable of giving me the love I'd always craved. The weeks that followed were difficult. Eleanor and Richard tried to contact me several times, leaving voicemails and sending emails. They alternated between pleading and threatening, begging me to reconsider and accusing me of being a terrible daughter. I ignored them all. Olivia continued to harass me, sending me angry text messages and posting passive-aggressive comments on social media. She even tried to get other family members involved, painting me as the villain and our parents as the innocent victims. Some of my relatives sided with Olivia, sending me judgmental messages and accusing me of being unreasonable. Others were more understanding, offering their support and acknowledging that my parents had always favored Olivia. I learned who my true friends and family were during that time. I leaned on Daniel and my close circle of friends, who supported me unconditionally and helped me stay strong. I focused on my children, on creating a loving and supportive home for them, free from the toxic dynamics that had plagued my own childhood. 6 months passed. 6 months of silence from my parents. 6 months of relative peace in our lives. I'd started to believe that they'd finally accepted my decision, that they'd moved on. Then, one evening, Daniel came home from work with a strange look on his face. "You need to see this," he said, handing me his phone. It was a news article. The headline read, "Prominent architect and lawyer accused of fraud, embezzlement." My heart skipped a beat. I scanned the article, my eyes widening in disbelief. Eleanor and Richard, the seemingly perfect, successful couple, had been running a fraudulent scheme for years. They'd been embezzling money from their clients, laundering it through offshore accounts, and living a lavish lifestyle far beyond their legitimate means. The article detailed their elaborate scheme, the evidence against them, and the potential consequences they faced: years in prison, massive fines, and the complete ruin of their reputations. I sat there, stunned, unable to process what I was reading. My parents, the pillars of the community, the epitome of success, were criminals. The article went on to mention that Olivia and her husband were also under investigation, suspected of being complicit in their parents' crimes. Their assets had been frozen, their lavish lifestyle abruptly curtailed. The golden child, the one who had always been favored, the one who had always seemed to have it all, was now facing the same fate as her parents. My phone started ringing. It was Olivia. I hesitated, then answered. "Clara," she sobbed, her voice barely a whisper. "It's all gone. Everything. Our house, our cars, our savings, it's all gone." I listened, my emotions a tangled mess of shock, disbelief, and, yes, a flicker of satisfaction. "Mom and Dad, they're ruined," Olivia continued, her voice choked with tears. "They're going to jail. And we might, too." I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt a strange sense of justice, a feeling that my parents were finally facing the consequences of their actions. But another part of me, the part that still yearned for their love and approval, felt a deep sense of sadness. I don't know what to do," Olivia whimpered. "We have nothing. We have nowhere to go." And then, she said the words I'd never expected to hear. "Clara, can you help us?" I stared at the phone, speechless. Olivia, the sister who had always had everything, the sister who had always looked down on me, was now begging for my help. "Help you?" I repeated, my voice incredulous. "After everything? After the way you've treated me, the way you've treated my children?" "I know," Olivia sobbed. "I know I've been awful. But I'm desperate. We have nothing. Please, Clara, you're the only one who can help us." I thought about it. I thought about all the years of hurt, all the years of feeling second best. I thought about Sophia's face at her birthday party, the look of disappointment and sadness. I thought about my parents' blatant favoritism, their constant disregard for my feelings and the feelings of my children. And then, I thought about my daughters. I thought about the example I wanted to set for them. I wanted them to be kind, compassionate, and forgiving. I wanted them to know that even when people hurt you, you can still choose to be the bigger person. "I'll help you," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. "But not for you. For Noah and Lily. They're innocent in all of this, and they don't deserve to suffer." Olivia let out a cry of relief. "Thank you, Clara," she whispered. "Thank you." I didn't offer them money. I knew that wouldn't solve their problems, and it might even enable their bad behavior. Instead, I offered them something far more valuable, a fresh start. Daniel and I had a small rental property, a modest house in a quiet neighborhood. It wasn't much, but it was clean, safe, and comfortable. I offered it to Olivia and her family, rent-free, for as long as they needed to get back on their feet. I also offered to help Olivia find a job. I used my connections to get her an interview at a local nonprofit organization, a far cry from her previous glamorous lifestyle, but a decent, honest job. I didn't do this because I forgave Olivia or my parents. I did it because it was the right thing to do. I did it because I wanted to break the cycle of negativity and resentment that had plagued our family for so long. Olivia and her family moved into the rental property. It was a humbling experience for them. To go from a mansion to a modest 3-bedroom house. From designer clothes to hand-me-downs. But slowly, gradually, they started to adjust. Olivia got the job at the nonprofit. And she discovered a sense of purpose she'd never known before. She started volunteering at the local soup kitchen, helping people who were less fortunate than herself. Noah and Lily, initially resistant to the change, started to thrive in their new environment. They made friends with the neighborhood kids, joined the local sports teams, and discovered the simple joys of a less materialistic lifestyle. Eleanor and Richard, awaiting trial, were a different story. They were bitter, resentful, and unrepentant. They blamed everyone but themselves for their downfall, clinging to their sense of entitlement and refusing to accept responsibility for their actions. I visited them once, in prison. It was a difficult visit. Eleanor looked haggard and defeated, her sharp features softened by age and stress. Richard was a shell of his former self, his confident demeanor replaced by a look of utter despair. "We never should have trusted you," Eleanor said, her voice filled with venom. "You were always jealous of Olivia, always trying to undermine us." I looked at her, my heart aching with a mixture of pity and sadness. "I wasn't jealous, Mom," I said softly. "I just wanted you to love me." Eleanor scoffed, turning away. "You were always so needy," she muttered. I left the prison, feeling a sense of closure. I knew I'd never have the relationship I'd always wanted with my parents, but I'd finally accepted it. I'd moved on. It's been 2 years since my parents' world came crashing down. Their trial is still ongoing, but it's clear they'll face significant consequences for their crimes. Olivia and her family are doing better. They're still living in the rental property, but they're slowly rebuilding their lives. Olivia is working hard at the nonprofit, and she's become a valued member of the community. Noah and Lily are thriving in school and have adjusted well to their new life. Olivia and I have a complicated relationship. We're not close, but we're civil. We talk occasionally, mostly about the children. There's still a lot of hurt and resentment between us, but we're both trying to move forward. Sophia and Emma are happy and well-adjusted. They don't ask about their grandparents much anymore, and I'm grateful for that. They're surrounded by love and support, and they know they're cherished and valued. Daniel and I are stronger than ever. We've weathered the storm together, and our bond is unbreakable. He's my rock, my confidant, and my best friend. I've learned a lot over the past few years. I've learned that family isn't always about blood. It's about the people who love you, support you, and accept you for who you are. I've learned that forgiveness isn't about condoning bad behavior. It's about releasing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. I've learned that true happiness comes from within, not from external validation or material possessions. I've also learned that sometimes, the greatest inheritance you can receive is silence. The silence of a toxic relationship, the silence of unrealistic expectations, the silence of a past that no longer defines you. And in that silence, I've found peace. A peace I never thought possible. A peace I earned, a peace I deserve. And that is the most cathartic feeling in the world.